Good evening, everyone. I am Bran. This is Worlds and Crafts, a stream devoted to opening the curtain of creation on setting building, discussing mechanics, meta plots, and minutiae, and building content together. It's been a while, whoever's here. I see some good friends over here. And yeah, we're starting tonight with Kumu. Mostly because I thought it would be apropos to have two maps open. So how's everyone doing tonight? Oh, 3 slurps. Very powerful. Big mood. So tonight, just before I started streaming, my phone started ringing, which is rare in this current era where most people prefer to text. Not saying I prefer either one. Call me, text me, whatever. But usually I don't receive calls from unknown numbers right before I start a stream. And it was Congressman Annie Custer's office for some reason with an automated message. I guess they're doing a telephone conference about COVID-19, and I should probably be listening to that, but I'll just have to play catch up because I'm choosing to build worlds instead. I'm a very responsible citizen. So tonight I was thinking that there are two directions to take the stream. I really initially wanted to talk about conveying themes, conveying messages, like what kind of messages we convey with our content that we create. And talking then about what kind of messages we would want something like this to create, like what kind of messages I want this setting to create to convey. And that's a really good topic, but something else that also came up is I had kind of a revelation in wording on I had a revelation in wording on humanity's relationship with God on a sociological kind of level, and I don't want to get into the philosophy of it, but I had just a very clear step-by-step understanding of just how one could use the idea of a culture to then kind of seamlessly create a unique god for them by asking the question, how do they relate to the nature around them? And how do their cultural choices influence how they interact with the nature around them? And that's a bigger question, but I think it's a really neat one to explore as well. So I was initially very torn, and I still am kind of torn on which direction to go. Conveying messages or building God. Anyone has any preferences towards one or the other, now is the time to speak up. It's entirely possible that there will be low interaction. I'll get to just kind of talk your ears off, your collective ears off, ad nauseum about both. But if people start interacting, it'll slow us down quite a bit. But that's okay. I prefer that. Build God, shop at Kmart. Perfect. So now our God building factory is going to be set in the Kmart. I hope you know that. Like it's like that game Black and White, Build God, except not, because well, that was, oh, I forget the name of the studio that did that game. Excellent game. Same one that did Fable, you know, with all the same shortcomings, but in all the same successes in tone. In any case, this reminds me of that talking about a god building workshop. Lionhead Studios and Peter Molyneux. Ah, yes, Peter Molyneux. How many mixed feelings I have for you. That's okay. You made good stuff. But yeah, building God. So far, we have 1 vote for building God, unless that was just a joke. And I'm game to talk about that. All right, I think we'll just start there then. But before we do, um, if anyone recalls from 2 weeks ago, the last time that we had this map open, there was a lot less content on it. So I went in and spent some time fleshing out some of the region, redoing some of the labels, adding this lovely banner. It's really nice that last time, on the last episode, we were able to talk about how you can like add depth to objects in a map by highlighting or lowlighting underneath them. And so I did a lot of that with just some trees, some standing stones, touched up the bog a bit because oh, it was dirty. I needed to clean it. Added a lot of trees, as you can see, a lot of trees. So that's really all I did to the map. Otherwise, all the content's more or less the same, just slight changeovers. But yeah, so I wanted to touch on that. Otherwise, let's talk about God as a sociological construct. And not in a big nebulous way, even though it is a big nebulous question. I'm not trying to ask a philosophy question. I'm trying to say, if you had to describe God as a sociological construct as simply as you could, as elementary as you could, how would you do so? And honestly, those are the types of questions that kind of just float in and out of my head on a weekly basis. Is how does one take a really, really complicated idea and boil it down? Understanding that the boiled down result will lack gain compared to the big result. But, nonetheless, it's a fun mental exercise. That's true. I did I did in fact make the map an incarnate reminder. Thanks, Wes. Preach. But the that whole thing about really big concepts. I want to pay some homage to that. Is that these are I don't want to seem like I'm trivializing the concept of God. Nor am I qualified to like philosophically discuss realistically. I haven't read like jack for philosophy, and that's that realm. Nonetheless, nonetheless, as a creator, as a content creator, we end up kind of creating gods all the time. Gods in universes you build, or just entities that have so much power according to the setting you're building that they serve the same purpose as gods, immovable forces. So, I think, in my uneducated opinion, that God is a sociological construct. I've begun to think of it as the relationship between humans and nature personified. And in that way, when I kind of reframed that and started thinking about that, I went, okay, if God is, not for all cultures, but if God for many cultures is their relationship with nature personified, well, everything starts to make a lot more sense about some cultures, some ancient cultures. Obviously the immediate thing that comes to mind is like the tribes of Israel, because I grew up Christian. And I don't want to dive into that because that's Yahweh territory. That's big. But nonetheless, if you think about a real world religion, think about them. Think about like the conditions under which like Buddhism formed, even. This concept of enlightenment. Enlightenment happens when you ignore suffering. Gee, I wonder what kind of condition that formed under. Like all these philosophies seem to be related to the environment in which they grew. And yeah, so I was thinking then, what is this region's like relationship with their natural environment? Like something that's really common. Oh, hello there. Sorry, I just saw people joined. Thanks, Wes. Hey there, Kayla. How you doing? Hi there, Body and Soul 152. Just saw you guys. I was a little bit entranced by the map here as I was talking. But yeah, we're talking about God, we're thinking about like really shallow versions of God. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the good map. It is a good point. So nonetheless, thinking about it, it drove me to think about the relationship between these people and their natural environment, and to ask the question, what would it be? You know, but I think it would honestly be easier if we said, "Goodbye, Langswood. It was nice to know you for now," and then just moved off, started in a new area. The reason why I would do that is because we've done quite a bit already to change that area. We've developed it out in a way that you can already feel that there's potential story there, even not knowing anything about the people who live there. We've built out the region, and you get that sense that there's the potential story there. But I want to do that to the rest of the world before I go building out actual story. If we build this out anymore, I feel like we're going to start developing too many story strands and maybe eat up some of the good ones that could connect us to other areas. And just reading what Karine Comfort just said. And I definitely like that idea, talking about the standing stones. But of course, we did establish that the standing stones are old, right? So it's entirely possible that the people who live there now don't feel the same way. But it is important to definitely consider that. So, we started with the location before. We just designed a location and started there. I think I would like to showcase a different type of building, and there's a peninsula right here. Did you want a peninsula? Or do you mean like a true blue peninsula, like this big boy right here, this huge section? Beach trip. I mean, who doesn't need a beach trip? Water gods, storm gods. Okay. No, that's beautiful. I like that. So that's perfect. But yeah, sand gods. Okay. I like it too. So maybe we just go ahead and well, this is also that place where it gets cold right here. So do you want it warm? Or do you think in like Ireland or like, just that the British Isles / Iceland type stormy weird area relies heavily on trade. You pick that. Because we do have climate to consider right now, so it doesn't matter necessarily where we put it, but it does matter what the climate is, so that way we know how they adapt, how they respond. Okay, so this area is pretty chilly. It's a lot of just straight up Arctic sea wind. They're like, hey, this is a nice chilly area, but maybe it's arid. Maybe maybe it's like an arid, dry steppes region. And it's cold as hell. But because it is so arid that, like, I don't know, maybe solar gain during the summer makes it so it's kind of just a nice cool area with really unique plants or something. Ireland and a wee bit Nordic. Now that sounds delightful. Just thinking about that. Macro's the best coach. Nice. Excellent. But if it also has bad storms, I'm actually thinking something here that that maybe this peninsula is part of a region where a warm air current and a cold air current happen. Maybe there's more mountains over here, another set of mountains paralleling this, and it just like maybe a set of mountains right here along between the main peninsula and this little jutting area. It's just this funnel that just pulls hot and cold air together and creates these massive storms in this valley, and maybe they didn't like spread out from there, but that down here, because of all the high winds, it's just these arid steppes. It'd be really interesting because then if there was all these storms that formed up here, it could mean that there's a winding, massive river that forms from all the runoff from those storms and just courses down through here. A storm god and a water god being separated lovers? Well, calm down now. Let's not story the gods yet. But I like where you're going though. Just don't get ahead of us. All right. So, we're just going to leave you all over here. Come over here and make some new things. Smaller delta. That's actually not a bad idea. River delta. Okay. But yeah, I think that sounds really good. So I think that first thing I want to do then is got an element, and we chose this coastal environment. So maybe out along here is actually really nice non-windy area because it's just shielded. Maybe it's just an even temperature all year round, just like it's San Diego, the just a constant 70 degrees, slightly balmy. It's the resort area, yeah. So, initially we had just kind of designed some locations over here, and now we're kind of starting from more of a actual world perspective, talking about nature first before the things that people built. And it is definitely a completely valid way of world building as well. So, what should we call these mountains to the west here? Mountains we're going to add. Actually, I can always just add some while I'm waiting on mountain. Oh, sorry. I mean, what? That is opposite of what I. Well, then I'm just going to call them Hero Traverse Mountains because if we, I mean, it's a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. It's like a really cool idea. So that means it would probably have to wait till after we've, yeah. We're just gonna call it Heroes Traverse. Why not? Heroes Traverse, and it is, in fact, a. Oh wow. New? Is that new or is that no? That's got to be new. All right. They added options that I wasn't aware of. So the element type for Heroes Traverse is going to be, realistically, it's a locale. Kind of big. Description: mountain range that bars the west end of the valley, the mainland. Done. So there's that. Named for the hero who first made it through the. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be like a myth story, and that's fine. That works for me. I love it. Give me more superstitions and myths. I don't necessarily need to be using snow-capped peaks. I don't know why I just did. But I think I'm. Also, something about when I'm placing mountains that I like to do is I like to kind of follow the edge of the mountain and go, all right, what would it look like if I like put this mountain like right? Now it looks like they have connected peaks. Because I realized somewhere along the line that a lot of trying to make it's surprisingly easy. Oh surprisingly easy unless you click the wrong button, and then it's well not easy at all. And it is difficult. Know what that's called? Okay. So we have Resort Town, East Bank, Swoosh Swoosh Valley, and dry steps down yonder. I think Harry Comfort had suggested a river delta right here, which would honestly make kind of sense. I'm gonna add a new element. I'm gonna zoom in on Heroes Traverse. I'm gonna add an element, and it's going to be Storm's Rush River. Are you gonna stop orbiting, please? Okay. I know you're floating, but you don't have to float that far. Alright. We're gonna change the element type of Storm's Rush River to... I mean, it is also a locale. But I'm gonna go ahead and add a relationship connection to Heroes Traverse. Boom. Done. I'm actually gonna change the name of this to Heroes Traverse. Heroes Traverse Mountains. There. Now we know right here that they are in fact mountains. Cool. So I imagine that, and I'll work on the river and such later, but I imagine that people living in this valley, their relationship with their stormy deity, stormy god of storms. That was a shout out to my friend Johnny, by the way, who is, if he's not here, he's missing out. I did send him the link, but he might be working because, you know, wow, he's in the military. So there's that. He has to work. But yeah, stormy god of storms. Johnny once flooded the entire world once in a game of Dawn of Worlds. But imagine that the people here in this valley, they probably you know, like you said, they definitely would have a god of storms, because if this is an, you know, a wind torn valley that gets violent storms because of like the hot air and the cold air just colliding in this little wind tunnel. It's huge wind tunnel. They're bound to have a pretty capricious relationship with their deity. I mean, I imagine it would be a whole lot like if like Montanans had an indigenous god. Probably be kind of a fickle thing, you know, or seemingly fickle. And that would be a harsh land to live in, you know? Think about the some of the behaviors of harsh environment cultures. And it doesn't matter if there's beauty and still bounty there. If you have to work really hard for it, it makes for a harder people. And that doesn't necessarily mean violent either. Maybe they're just socially opposed to change, or you know, maybe they have these like one small set of rules that they never ever break, because to do so would frankly invoke death. You know, just by how capricious the weather can be. Right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and add an element. It's gonna be God of Storms. I'm gonna go ahead and change the element type to ultimately religion. It is kind of a character, but it is a central figure for a religion. A pickled rare fruit to the altar of the storm god. Out of wind, rain, and hail. Maybe that's their shtick. Wind, rain, and hail. Alright, we're definitely gonna add a connection to Storm's Rush River locale, because that's basically gonna be the valley. So, got a big connection. You're just thinking of the Hex Girls? Man, I haven't thought about the Hex Girls in a long time. Yeah. Oh, you were. I mean, I do gotta. But maybe we should wait until just after break. That way we can try and maintain task. But the local fauna might be even more twisted because of how tough the land is. I gotta say, I agree completely. You know, I think that if you have landscape that is pelted by hail, think of like the Great Plains, you know, on the regular. Well, usually they're really hardy, really hardy. Gotta have like strong root systems, and either A, strong enough to resist like the damage that hail causes, or just can get right back from it. Strong winds, of course, means like there might not be trees over a certain height. And if there are groves of trees, they're probably hardwoods. It's entirely possible in dry seasons that like the valley burns. Which, you know, might be why they have an even more complicated relationship with Stormy God of Storms. Nonetheless, you know, we're turning this valley into like it sounds like a really stunning, beautiful place, very hard to live in. And I'm game for that. Let's make it difficult. Make it difficult on everyone. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and call this Storm's Rush River Valley. That's my way it covers the whole valley. Storm's Rush River Valley is always in change, in flux, due to the only the strongest, best survive. Alright. Storm's River Valley is always in change, in flux due to all too unpredictable weather patterns. Weather patterns. So, the river is the river is either in swell or in dry. And the valley waxes being racked by storms and being so dry it could light up at cold Arctic winds sweep up, meet hot equatorial wind. When they collide. Oh, hey, I just realized something. So maybe it's not necessarily just the god of wind, rain, and hail. Maybe they have a base understanding of weather. So these people, as they've developed their understanding of everything, in order to survive in this land, they need to understand weather and be able to predict weather. And so when cold air sweeps up from the south and hot air from the north, they know a storm's coming. What if they started viewing that as the passage of their deities? You said lovers who were stranded from each other. I'm thinking there's an Arctic wind, there's an Arctic wind and an equatorial wind god each of some sort. And hey there, Broken Golem, how you doing? And you know that storm that results from the two gods colliding ultimately is their throes of passion. How you doing, Broken Golem? Yeah, we were just talking about how this valley here, we started talking about gods, and that's how I started this whole night, was on a ultimately difficult topic. Hey there, Hexerai, how are you? So just brief recap. We were talking about gods, and I was saying that I think that as a sociological construct, and excuse me, that God as the relationship between humans and nature personified is just kind of a good way to start the good way to start the process of making a god in a game is to think about the natural forces around them and what it might make them think. Um, so south wind, and we're gonna. Oh shoot, those element god of. Well, connect them. Storms rush River Valley. Okay. Storms rush River Valley. As a result, locals believe that the north wind and south wind separated lovers. That their love can both create and destroy. I love it. Oh man, you have pesto? Oh, that sounds so good right now. Curses. What? Yeah, you don't see a beanie. Listen, I don't just wear aprons and just wear beanies. No, I'm wearing a blazer, remember? This is my third outfit, gosh. It's only when I'm in public anyway. You don't know what I wear when you don't see me. Report to the High Council? Okay. I'm very... The chat just got really creepy and everyone was fired. I'm kidding. But yeah, so let's focus back on our valley, on our river god, on our people. I think I'm actually just gonna go ahead and carve out a really rough river. I think shape circle size 1. I'm just gonna start from where the outlet is. Goes up the center of the valley in big winding shapes. Because it had to be a song. And no, I won't count that as your song. I would never hear the end of it. But yeah, so kind of want this river to hit every spot, every place that can possibly be hit in this valley, because ultimately it is the river runoff starts in all the mountains. So I'm just gonna actually cruise up to bring it all the way over. Boom, basic river. I'm gonna have to widen it out, but add some runoff stream. Add more runoff. That. You wouldn't let me either, Carl? Oops. Sure did. Yeah, so some of the some of the phrasings that I use are call them eclectic. But yeah, so right now I'm doing just kind of adding some crappy runoff streams that are just kind of showing how at the end of the day this is a bunch of tiny streams all running off the mountainsides to create a big river somewhere in the middle. And right now, it looks like a tapeworm. That will change as we add other things. Okay. Actually, undo that. This one. There we go. And then so for a river delta, start just kind of drawing out all these things off. I'm just gonna start cutting it through because I want that gone. I'll probably end up, moving some parts. This is kind of the look I want. Patchy look. Big friggin' river delta. Okay, cool. That's all I'm gonna do on that for the widen it out. All I needed was a kind of a geographic basis on where valley. I think I scaled out too much. The river later. There's gonna be way less hooks in it. It's probably gonna be like one, something like that. I mean, I can't tell you because I amalgamate accents constantly, like all the time, just because it's fun. It's a hobby, I guess. Yeah, it looks like a nice lazy river. It just would have to be over a larger span of space, I think. Because right now we've got this one already just like being a chunky thick boy. But anywho, so we kind of ascertained, that this valley has two gods, that they meet and collide and cause all kinds of chaos. So, not actually talking about anything. Talking about building God. Oh, rude. Building God. Because that does not sound ominous. and or regrettable. So I'm just gonna do a little ticky tapping. Yeah, so starting with the relationship between the people of the valley and their environment. Deities. So Storms Rush River Valley. I'm just gonna copy this because I'm gonna want it over here. Storms Rush River Rivery Valley. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it so I can have that right there for quick reference. Storms Rush River Valley. So it's valley's all in change. God of the North. All right. Associated attributes. So I think in order, we already talked about how they cause storms, and it's the equatorial wind versus the Arctic wind, right? So I would then say that you have like your associated attributes to each god when you're forming them this way, because you're going from the natural force that they embody, what their relationship between the people and that natural force is, and clearly they view the North Wind at the very least, or they view both together as something equally beneficent and equally destructive. But the North Wind is the equatorial one, so they probably view it more favorably, except for when occasionally it breathes fire. Dominion over fire, warmth. That's too technical. I don't want that. I start thinking in a technical way sometimes, and I gotta think from the perspective of those people. So Dominion over Summer Breeze. What is a creature that would only live or only be out in the summer? A lot of them, but specific type that might live in a valley like this. Temperate valley that suffers extremes. Bears, actually. When I think about it. I mean, bears can go out in the winter, but they hibernate. Huh. So maybe this is gonna turn, yeah, anything that hibernates, exactly. Maybe this is gonna turn, maybe this will turn this even more into a Nordic concept. Or maybe not Nordic, but just northerly in general. Dominion over Summer Breeze, bears. I think when you get specific, it's good. But yeah, I don't know. What was your suggestion, Broken Golem? Passions? That's fair. God of the North Wind, Dominion over Summer Breeze, bears, passion. Oh, this is turning hilarious, and I love it. Bounty, I guess. But also probably wrath, because bountiful and less wrathful. Worms, bullets, giant moles. Body and Soul 152. Are you talking about for the map making? Or are you talking about for note taking and this lovely thing right here? Is from left to right. It is this lovely thing is called kumu.io. And it is a relationship mapping software typically used by, I think, enterprise level endeavors, or small business endeavors, where you can map out the relationships between like people in a social network, things like that. What we're using it for is our fictional relationship map. Otherwise, I'm using Google Docs for some of our note taking here, and then I'm also using Incarnate Maps incarnate.com. Excuse me, there's a yearly fee if you want to have access to all the features, but there's a free version as well. And you just move sprites around and shape land masses and detract from them as well. So these are 3 lovely tools I've been using a lot. And then a tool that I haven't really brought into play yet because I wasn't feeling it earlier, but one that I have talked about in previous streams is MyNoise, mynoise.net. But I think actually this is an adequate time while we're talking about the God of Wind to actually start doing this noise generator. So on mynoise.net, it is a one-time membership fee if you want access to everything unlimitedly. It's just to support the gentleman who makes all of these beautiful sounds that build all these noise generators. So, I think that right now, Distant Thunder, Rain on Tent, Irish Coast. I think Distant Thunder sounds. Again, there's also rain noise, tropical rain. Actually, yeah, let's Distant Thunders. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's soothing. But also, I think gets you in the right mind state. Talking about a god of storm. This is kind of a nice, even summer storm. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing extreme. Let's, yeah, no, I'll leave it at that. Let's leave it at some sounds. Okay. By the way, if you want any suggestions on Incarnate, just always save your maps, save them, do not delay, because sometimes if you chose an experimental option and your tab hangs up, you lose 2.5 hours worth of work. Who knows that? I don't know that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm always responsible. I save all the time. I don't lose 2.5 hours worth of work. So, the god of the north wind. We got our nice sound going. Dominion over summer breeze bears passion, bounty, wrath, and new life maybe. No, let's change that. Well, let's move on to the god of the south wind. A god that would use aurochs. That does sound like a god that would use aurochs. Are you talking about as like a holy symbol of some sort? All right. Fertility and vitality. Fertility, vitality. So dominion over, represented by strength, life-giving behaviors of aurochs. I'm actually fine with that. I think that sounds cool. Okay, so I think then knowing the relationship of these people with their environment, and that these all represent positive and negative things. I imagine that you have to have positive and negative festivals for your deity. I think that you cannot have one without the other, because sometimes you're having a festival because a long time ago your god got really mad and something bad happened, and so you had to appease them. That's not a positive event. Or that's what you believe, at least. So actually, instead of moving on to the god of the south wind, so let's talk about festivals, because I think that there's definitely a spring festival. I think they probably do a spring festival, and because that's probably a pretty favorable time of year. The melt has everything rushing around. I mean, like, rushing water is dangerous, but otherwise, pretty good time of the year. Summer is probably dubious. It's either great or terrible, or both. And then winter is probably hard. Maybe because of the unreliability they have. You want you want a bacchanal fertility and virility festival? Oh, good golly. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. Mostly also though because the concept of Bacchus arose from a relatively warm temperate region. I don't know if they would feel like I don't know if the people of this valley would feel like they had the freedom to be that way. And if they did, which is a fine development of these people, that they're just fine, why? What changed? What made them fine? You know, what made them so good at this that they feel like they can kick back and get drunk for like, you know, a week? Because that's always, I think, a really valid question. You know, is what are the conditions around why this formed or how this formed? If you had to attribute everything to your god, I think we know who Kayla's god is. Northwind. I think that's pretty. I think it's an interesting idea. Fish spawn about fish spawning, and I'm honestly forgetting when river fish usually spawn. Isn't it late spring? I just honestly don't remember right now. ADHD moment. Fish swan. Fish swan sounds terrible. Just like it's just a mean fish, teeth and a neck. Nobody wants that. Oh, okay. Actually, that is a pretty interesting idea. Yeah, so I think that we could do that. They have the New Life Festival, and then maybe a holiday in autumn, maybe celebrating, like maybe they have a fish spawning event where these fish come back and it helps everyone prepare for winter, and it is like the final blessing of the god of Northwind. North Festival Spring. Festival maybe returning. All fish spawning. Boom. Done. Those are both positive. Those are both beneficial things. So what is a negative thing that they would... Oh, forest fires. So maybe they do appeasements during the middle of the summer. Like if there's, if the north wind just continues to blast its warmth, it'll dry everything out. So, oh, that's cute though. If they believe, that's, I didn't know that, Broken Golem. That's a fantastic factoid. Thank you. I'm gonna write that down right now. Fish are so plentiful that they all but clog up the river, seeming to walk across the top. I I like that. Elders of the people stand on platforms in the wind during the summer for days as an offering of appeasement. So I was thinking, the only twist that I might want to add to that, and I like the direction, is if the people believe that these gods are lovers who have been lost to one another, and are just trying to reunite, then maybe these elders, they're standing in the wind during the summer, maybe they look for signs of the south wind to aid their god. And it is still sad. It is still not a positive thing, but they're just trying to help him or her find their lover. Because of course that would ultimately benefit the people. So the elders of the people stand on platforms in the wind during summer days, looking south, being the eyes of their god. Bonfires. I think that's a great idea, yeah. The watchful hours, dry summers. During dry summers, the people gather in prayer, and the elders watch south in the wind, walking length of the valley with a group of faithful, lighting bonfires. They're in control to show the god of the south wind the way. All right. I like that a lot. I think that's fantastic. So during wet summers, they probably just think that, yeah, they're fine. And they have just like more parties, more celebrations. Maybe that's when their actual fertility festival is. Just a bunch of people getting drunk and fucking. That sounds like what that would be. I think that would be I think that could be the case. I mean, if you have dry summers, why would you celebrate? You're having to work more in order to make sure everything you built doesn't burn down. Please stop. Erg. Alright. Backspace. Trying to predict what I want to do, and I'm just like, no, you don't actually know what I want to do. There we go. Call that the bounty days. Wet summers. During years of plentiful rain, people will call for celebration of bounty, in which they will drink and cavort and canoodle. Just because I want the excuse to use that word. I can't spell that. I'm not even sure that's correct. Is that a word? Gotta be. I canoodle canoe. Yeah, no, that's correct. Just looks strange spelled. I like that. So I think we've decided some good things about the god of the North Wind, and their festivals and such. The god of the South Wind. Dough for canoodles. Oh, it's a pastry. Yes. I have lots of canoodles. I like that the chat has just slowly devolved into Canoodle. This stream brought to you by Canoodle. Which sounds even worse, like an actual product. Alright. So I think you lost me on that one, puppy lover. You lost me there. So I definitely do want to talk about the God of the Southwind and think about what kind of things would be associated with them, and if they are positive or negative or what. But it is about halfway through our stream right now, so I'd like to take a 5-minute break. After which, I do need to sing a song for Puppy Lover. So I don't know what you want me to sing, but that'll probably take 10 minutes realistically to look it up and make sure I know it, and then give you all a song, and then we'll be back. And we are back. I felt so bad now because my poor husky, Mona Lisa, not behaving. Mona Lisa, our husky, she sprained her back in a weird way. I don't know how she did it, but she managed to. She sprained her back, yes. Okay. So she was in a lot of pain, brought her to the emergency room because she was in a lot of pain. A lot. And they prescribed her muscle relaxers and NSAIDs. And she was kind of really in a lot of discomfort this morning, so we gave her, her dose of meds, and this one finally kicked in a way that like really was meaningful, and so she clearly feels better. And she was like dancing around, like pawing at me, like, come on, let's play. And I'm just like, dude, you have a literal sprained back. Stop. What are you doing? But she really, really feels better right now and really wants to play. And so I had to break her furry little heart by coming back in here, spend time with y'all. She is a nugget. Great. I love her to death. But nonetheless, no, that was my more than momentary delay. So, did you come up with a song? Or do you need to come up with a song? I don't want to. Let's see here. What song? The Hex Girls? I don't know the Hex Girls. I mean, like I've heard of them, but I don't remember any of that. That was a long time ago. Do you really want me to sing the Hex Girls? I'm just gonna watch a YouTube video. Oh, good God. Can it be Girls Earth, Wind, and Fire? Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air by the Hex Girls. I should have asked you this before break. All right. Really obscure, really obscure Scooby-Doo songs. All right, excuse me while I mute myself for a moment so that I can listen to this. There's no way I'm going to be able to accurately sing this song, and I'm just going to tell you that right now. So, do you want me to try anyway? I'm just giving you the report beforehand. Might be really bad. Kiss slurp. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna watch anything without Matthew Lillard in it, okay? Alright. I have a YouTube video with lyrics on it. This is my like third time listening to the song ever. The first time when I was like 10. So let's go. You have faith in me? Wind, fire, and air. We may look bad, but we don't care. Let the wind, we ride the fire. To love the earth is our one desire. It's only fair. One big earth that we must share. We love the earth with all our fire. It's in our souls, our one desire. I mean, I was exaggerating. We can look bad, but we don't care. The wind, we feel the fire. To love the earth is our one desire. You're not ancient. Precious gift, it will make your spirits lift. Alright. I have to call an end to this. It looks like this goes on for another minute and a half. I'm not gonna do the rest. But there you have it. A song that I didn't remember ever listening to, but I know I had. Hooray. And you know, I would feel like I was cheating you out of your blood points, but I know how many you have. Yeah, you know, clearly Silent Infinity, clearly. All right, so before we went on break, we had talked about the God of North Wind in the lovely valley over here. I called it the Storm's Rush River Valley, the God of the North Wind, because South Wind and North Wind would meet there a lot, and they're lost lovers. So, oh, and you know, Silent Infinity, talking about the eyeliner one more time. I was wearing guyliner during the Tales from the Loop stream we did, so check it out. It should be on YouTube, I think. I mean, not yet. I don't know. Ask one of the High Council. That said, it is still here on Twitch, and you can give it a watch. It was a game mastered by our lovely operator Nick. Oh, you did remark. Okay, I couldn't remember who was remarking. I just knew people were. That was also just a shameless plug because Nick was a fantastic game master, and I really want to see more of what he does. So, the God of the South Wind has dominion over winter winds. I think that's something that probably is in the winter a lot out here. My guess is My brain can't get off caribou. I'm just thinking about caribou constantly. Caribou! Skyliner Bros, that's us. See. And you know, over. So maybe the God of the South Wind is. I wonder if they're both viewed positive, and that maybe all the negative things are like just accidents. That's an interesting. You know. Okay, so we already established that there's a lot of storms in this region, hence why it's the Storm's Rush River, and we also established that there is that they have a pretty positive relationship with God of the North Wind, and that they want to help them find each other. So, what if the weather is viewed as a depiction of their mood? So, how they react to being separated from their lover, which I think would be great. and that storms are viewed as better alternatives than just totally one of them. Like, because totally the god of the north wind, everything lights on fire. Totally the god of the south wind, everything freezes over. So if we view those as the extremes and talk about the rest as moods, and they say that, the god of the north wind is god over summer breezes, and then wrath is just the aspect of fire. Exactly, Silent Infinity. Yeah, we're just when we started talking about this, it was kind of like, what is? Oh, that is a good idea. Good explanation for summer hail. What is the result of sorry, God as a relationship between humans and the natural world. That's what we were talking about. And so if these people lived here and they experienced this environment, what would they think? What kind of gods would they create? And it's just kind of a way to circumvent inserting too much ego into a god. If you want your setting to have a lot of ego in its gods, then fair, But I think that basing gods off of what people love and what people fear is very powerful and very relatable. Let's see. Actually, it'd be really interesting. I just realized something. What if during extreme winters, like polar bears wander up here for all the food? Like, what if that happened? But it was only extreme winters. I'm not sure how likely that actually would be, but I don't know. Yes, polar bears. Oh, well, the only reason I was thinking it is because if the god of the north wind is summer breeze, what about just like brown bears? Passion, bounty, wrath, fertility, vitality, and god of the south wind, dominion over winter wind, arctic bears, because they only show up in the dead of winter. I mean, sure, black bears. I mean, if we're talking about species of bears, then yeah, I would be saying black bears, and then like probably brown bears. Because brown bears typically brown bears are technically grizzlies, and black bears, there are brown black bears, but they're not black. They're not brown bears. Sun bears are from the jungle, I think. Yeah, they're from the jungle, or at least no, they're not from the jungle. They're from a Dude. It was really regionalist of me actually just now. I said they're from the jungle because they're from South America, and that's like, nice job. There's a whole lot of other landscapes in South America. Way to be regionalist. Way to be American. That's all right. So, either way, dominion over winter wind brown bears. I don't know about sun bears. I'm not super attached to the idea of that happening. For our god of the north wind, because they're small and like they tend to be in warmer, more plentiful, bountiful areas. But obviously this is a fantasy world, so we could feasibly make them whatever we wanted. I mean, we can change black bears to anything. It could be, I don't know, something they named themselves and some unique species. It might not even be really a bear, but we're using representative language right now because it's relatable to us. We can always change it later. Dire bears. Over winter wind, brown bears. What about just like monsters? Like, what if they, I imagine like predation increases on human settlements as winter exists. So just like, what if the god of the south wind is viewed as the god of monsters? And monsters really just being predatory, predatory fauna that are local and sated during the warm months. Maybe the brown bear is a mixed thing. It's like they're protectors, and sometimes that means eating you. So I also think though that then she should be god of hearths. I said she because in my brain I'm doing that thing. They're god of hearths. And bear pig? Some kind of amalgamation of demon bear thing from Annihilation. I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest. Annihilation. Not gonna Google that on the stream. I'm just gonna Google it privately. Whoa. What? The hey hoo ha. What is that? White-faced bear. That sounds cool. Yeah, no, I wanted to add some positive things here. Winter wind, brown bears, monsters, hearths. Preservation, maybe? Maybe it's survival. Yeah, survival. Because I'm thinking that they have a positive association to the cold as far as the ability to preserve food goes. And so like there's a lot of, things during these months where it's all about, your hearth and your home and the food that you've been able to preserve. So I think it'd be interesting if their earliest preservations were definitely, ice based. So that'd be cool. And let's see. You were saying envy or pride? I think that envy works. That's not a bad idea. Something more abstract like justice, learning, or song. Yeah, so what is an activity that these people undertake in winter that, has made deep roots in their people? I think that I think that they would sing no matter when. Everyone has ancestors who sang a lot. Like, music is a pretty uniformly human language. Do they maybe have to spend so much time that, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They're processing the fiber in the fall or like, in the early winter, and so then they associate the rest of the winter with weaving. Yeah. Hey, listen. I am just trying to hydrate here. Don't tease me. Leave me alone. Envy and yeah, I like the idea of looms and weaving. Listen, this is what I like to call a long haul glass, all right? Tall, it's broad, it's demi thick, holds a lot of water. Long haul. Even though it still only lasts me like an hour because I nervously drink it every 5 minutes. All right. So represented by the Arctic fox, who is both well equipped and clever. Survive harsh. I like that idea. How dare you? Puppy lover, how dare you? Using memes like that. I do it all the time. It just never ends. So festival, actually, so Hearth Survival. Maybe trickery is an aspect of survival to these people. So maybe to not go crazy, they play pranks on each other during the winter months. Maybe festivals. Right, so maybe under festivals we have Day of the Winter, or Day of the, and they just call it the Winter Fox, maybe, or the White Fox. Yeah, Day of the White Fox. Everyone spends time playing tricks on one another. God, foreigners would hate it, and that's honestly what makes me love it more. They're just like, hey, we found this cool village, and they seem like really nice, and yeah, Winter Prank Fest, exactly. And they seem cool. We arrived in winter, so like, we're just like kind of holed up for now. And they just start getting pranks played on them. That's a delightful story waiting to happen. Unless, of course, they're European white people, then it's a terrible tragedy waiting to happen, but I was just literally reading about the origins of Eugene, Oregon earlier, so it's very apropos. Day of the White Fox. And otherwise, I do like the idea of the people celebrating the end of the longest day of winter. So the return of light. So I actually imagine the god of the south wind is also kind of like the god of clear skies. Because winter skies, when there's no warm air coming in to like, bring down snow and cover things up, are usually crystal clear. They're just so open and clear. Because we could have said that the god of the north wind had dominion over, like, hot air, but we didn't. We phrased it positively. Summer breeze is very soothing. Maybe we just call it soothing breeze. Yeah, so dominion over clear skies, brown bears, monsters, hearths, survival, and trickery, envy, looms, and weaving. I mean, I don't see why not. Them being that far north and getting an aurora, though, I mean, like, that's really not a big deal. I mean, realistically, if this is the edge of the Arctic region, and it's starting to become, just like, warmer up here, I think that you're still within realm for an aurora, for certain. If auroras are caused by the same thing. Hello there, Malky Pie. How are you? I realized I'm sitting super far behind my mic. Sorry. Developed this slouching habit more during quarantine. It's a delight. What is another festival that the god of the south wind would have? Day of the White Fox and the longest day. Maybe that's a whole week. Whoa. Day of the White Fox. Everyone spends time playing tricks on one another to ease the tension of a long winter. So maybe that's done in like late winter. I am doing pretty well, to be honest. We're probably gonna be wrapping up in the next 25ish minutes here. Just because I usually try and end it by 8, so that I can move on to other things like catching Carrying Comfort Studios tonight. But tonight I also need to be taking a walk before it gets pitch black, because yeah, sitting around quarantine, not great. But as far as this god of the south wind goes, this lovely deity that we're starting to fill out a little bit, dominion over these crystal clear skies of winter where brown bears appear, covered in snow, but monsters stalk the landscape harder looking for prey, and the few prey that is out is they're humans or more dangerous, or mortals, I should say. But also the god of hearths, because of the warmth that that the hearth provides in winter. Survival and trickery for the Arctic fox. Envy, for envying the time that the North Wind spent with the valley, and wanting to spend that time with the North Wind. Looms and weaving, because this culture does all their weaving during the winter, which I think is a really neat idea. They probably do some during the summer too, but I imagine they do a lot of gathering. Who, you? Oh yeah, you. Oh yeah, you with your beautiful things coming up. But I definitely think we need to come up with one more festival to call this good, which is the shortest day of the year. Midwinter. So it's a midwinter festival of something. Celebrates the returning to longer days. And I hope that came through, my grumbling. Celebrates different longer days with a celebratory. I think that sounds wonderful. They have a midwinter feast so they don't go crazy, and then after winter's over, and they endured the harshest of it, everyone spends time playing tricks on one another to ease the tension of a long winter. Playing tricks, or playing sports, maybe. Something. Playing tricks, fighting, hunting, etc. To ease the tension of a long winter. There is actually a Russian festival, I think, that does something like that. I don't remember what it's called, but every spring, and this is, I really need to look it up to confirm this, but my cousin had told me, they were living in Russia for a while, that there is this one festival where after a long winter, you get really drunk and you fight your friends. And you take sleigh rides. And everyone gets out all their grievances from the winter, from being stuck inside all year. Or all year, sorry, wow, being stuck inside for so long. And then they all have a laugh. And I'm just like, that sounds like the most horrifyingly delightful thing to witness. I know there is another festival, I think the Peruvian festival where they fight one another too. It's not. I mean, it's close enough to Festivus. They are grievances. So we're doing the last 20 minutes of the stream, which is fine and dandy by me. I actually like the content that we created tonight. I think it's really good and nice and useful. We've got kind of detailed out that there are people here. So I have one question about these people before this goes on. Do they have a city? Hmm. Hmm. And that is also a question that can wait. It doesn't have to be answered tonight. Do they have a city? What do their dwellings look like? What kind of ways do they live? Are they, cultivars, or are they more into animal husbandry? Do they do the both? And this is all, of course, all considering, that they live in a harsh, ever-changing environment. I imagine at the very least, that they, certainly have goats, and maybe some regular patches of like rice, wild rice that they will they will go pick up with their canoes or something. Imagine there's things like that. Plenty of gathering. But yes, much goat. People of the valley live in small, sprawling villages, cultivating the region for both plants and their goats. The aurochs that roam their valley were once used as labor animals, but again, they die. Maybe they died from a disease or something. After that time, left alone. As yeah, they were left alone. Maybe they thought they had displeased the god of Northwind, and maybe that's why the aurochs became a part of the symbolism. Goat yoga? My goodness gracious. Goat yoga. Play Goat Simulator 2, where you can too do yoga. So, you know, and this isn't exactly a brilliant sociological theory, but recapping, to start the stream out, I had initially wanted to talk about how you can convey messages with your setting. What kind of messages you convey through your mechanics, through cultures, through stories. But I ended up changing my mind because earlier I had kind of a weird. It's not an actual revelation. It was a change in how I thought about God on a wording level, like gods, and you know, that I think a social construct, God, as the relationship between humans and nature personified, is ultimately an attempt of humanity to understand the nature around them. And, you know, maybe that's way off, but nonetheless, I think it's an interesting way to create a people who do, you know, like that these gods that maybe they do actually exist in our setting, nonetheless, we created them in an effort of trying to convey the people of the valley coming to terms with where they live, coming to terms with the harshness of it and the beauty of it, and the way that the grasses can either be burning or lush and green or brown and dead in the winter. So much change. That's awfully compelling stuff. I mean, you look at a lot of religions that came from areas of harsh climates, and you can tell that there must have been a lot of tumultuous things happening in their culture because they've got a lot of tales for woe, misery, disease, and death and war, but they also have tales for healing and for wisdom and for wisdom, and you know, it's one of those things where if I can capture just the tiniest essence of that sense of depth, that sense of these people have lived here a long time, and drop that into a setting, I feel like we have made a massive success. Feeling as though just by stepping in your mind onto these fictional grasslands, these fictional rivers, fictional mountains, that you have somehow tread upon an area with deep roots. That's the feeling I always try to go for. And so I think this is probably an excellent method of doing that. I'm glad we got a chance to try it out. I think it worked out pretty well, where we kind of built our gods and our environment side by side, and then filled in the gaps with the people and what they thought. It was a fun kind of deductive way of doing it. I hope you all enjoyed it. Did anyone have any burning questions about any of the tools I'm using tonight, any of the setting work we've done? If we're going to talk about anything else, I mean, just, yeah, thoughts, feelings, emotional outbursts. Oh, I'm sorry, we're still talking about goat yoga. I think I know what you're actually talking about. Where people are doing yoga and the goats are walking all over them. The kids, the baby goats. Brilliant. Yeah, I've seen it. I just kind of forgot about it because I've seen a lot of videos of dogs doing the same thing. And cats. And lizards. Lisa. Do I want to sing a different song that I know? I mean, do you want to drop more blood points to make me do it? We're gonna deplete your well somehow. We're gonna tap into that mana. There it is. There it is. All right, you guys ready for the Foxwoods jingle? Because it's short mostly. So give you some options. Okay. So the Foxwoods jingle is definitely on the table. What songs do I know? I know a lot of songs, but that said, I also know less than other people. The problem is that I am ultimately Sad Kids Club, SKC, and so I listen to a lot of sad music. But singing a sad song on stream sounds like a bad idea. But nonetheless, Sad Kids Club is a thing. So, like I said, the Foxwood jingle because it came into my head, but otherwise, I am comfortable singing a lot of stuff. I mean, Lord Huron, maybe? Nah, I don't really love singing Lord Huron. Black Parade? Oh, alright. Thanks for shredding my vocal cords. Let's look up some lyrics. Maybe like, can I just sing the intro? Alright. When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? He said, will you defeat them, your demons, and all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? Because one day I'll leave you a phantom to lead you in the summer and join the Black Parade. When I was a young... Wait. How? No. What? Is that how it goes? I don't remember. Yeah, okay. Sorry. That's what you get. Save the beaten and the damned. All that stuff. There you go. Boom. I was trying not to blow out my mic. I kept pulling back from it. And I was like, oh no, watch the decibels. Because I cannot sing that quietly. Do you feel cheated? All right, let's see here. So we are entering the last 10 minutes, so unless anyone has any emotional outbursts, I'm just going to wrap it up here. So this has been Worlds and Crafts. I am Bran. This has been a stream that is devoted to setting building, opening the curtain of creation on metaplot, mechanics, and minutiae involved in all things setting building. Here on stream every Wednesday, we are building a setting actively, talking about it as we go, coming up with creative things. I am by no means a master of this craft, but we are certainly learning together, and I'm loving the creations we're making so far. So I want to say thank you for joining us on behalf of Gehenna Gaming, but also on behalf of myself. You can find me on Twitter at Kathakaros. It's spelled out right there next to my name, Bran, at Kathakaros. I'm going to get really good at that soon. And please do check out Gehenna Gaming on Twitter. If somebody wants to hit the social media tag, that'd be great. Unless Broken Golem's not here, in which case I'll do it in a minute. In either scenario, the tools I've been using tonight have been Incarnate, check them out, Kumu.io, and of course, Google Docs. And last but not least, mynoise.net. Support them. So good. Support us on Patreon. Check us out. We got some good stuff going on. And I will see you all next Wednesday.